I've got rhythm in my soul. Can you feel it? Let your body move. Let your body move. Let your body move. Let your body move. Ooh. Mm-mm. Oh yeah. I've got rhythm in my soul. I've got rhythm in my soul. Can you feel it? Let your body move. Let your body move. Let your body move. Let your body move.
Hey, YouTube. Yo, I am back in my little chair. It seems like I haven't been here in forever. And I had a gentle reminder that I haven't been gone because I've still been out in the YouTube streets. I just haven't been over here. But I am back, y'all, and I have switched it up a little bit. I enjoyed the conversations about relationships, but I didn't want to have the gender wars arguments anymore. So I'm going to be switching gears a little bit for a little while, and we're just going to let this thing flow however I feel. But y'all, I am so excited for this conversation. Y'all know I say conversations, it's not an interview because I am not a journalist. I am just a regular old ordinary lady having ordinary conversations with regular old people. And we're just going to let the conversation flow. I know tidbits of the story, but I'm going to be finding out just like you all are finding out. And y'all, I am asking all of the questions. I mean, all of the questions. But before I get to the conversation, I need to do a little bit of laying of the ground rules, so to speak. Everybody knows that I'm sort of a free spirit over here, and this is a judgment-free zone. So as far as I am concerned, anything that happened in someone's past is just that, the past. We are going on what's happening in their life today. Our guest had a little bit of trouble and has paid his debt to society as far as I'm concerned. So I am treating him just like a regular person. I have no ill will. I am not judging him. Whatever he shares, he's free to share. And all I ask is that you all be respectful, because I do not tolerate disrespect of any guests, any person on the panel, or myself. If you are disrespectful, then you will be blocked. And just like in ordinary fashion, how I did in the past, at the end of the show, after we finish the conversation, hopefully we finish the conversation in one session. When we finish, we will open up the stream and you all will be allowed to join the chat and ask some questions if I forget something. But again, I ask that if you are going to join the stream at the end, you have to cam up because we don't have time for bots and nobody on no craziness. I need to see a picture of you before I allow you onto the stream. So I guess it's time to introduce my guest. Well, wait, before I introduce him, y'all, he shared that he is going to be sharing or revealing never release details. Now, I don't know what those are about. And y'all might see me with my mouth hanging wide open because I might be in shock. Whatever this is, it is natural, unscripted, the way we do it. So, without further ado, I'm not going to talk. Y'all know I'm long winded. I'm going to get right to it and bring on the person that the police dubbed the Dapper Dan. Y'all, this man went from preacher to prison because he robbed a bank. Actually, several. So we're going to get the story. We're going to get a little bit of background and then get right on into all the juicy details and find out whatever it is he's going to share with for the first time on the book of Jennesis. So welcome, Mr. Michael Newson to the show. Hi, how are you?
How are you? How are you?
I'm good.
Good to be here. Good to see you. Good to be here.
Yes. Are you ready to do this?
I am ready. I am ready. Glad that you had me on. I thank you.
Yes.
And it is an honor to actually meet you and be able to share with you my story. I thank you for having me here. God bless you. Now put your seatbelt on. We're about to take a ride.
Nolan, the technical difficulties are not going to. It might be some on my end because y'all, I haven't been here. I don't even know how everything works anymore. But we're going to do the best we can. We're going to fly by the seat of our pants. That's okay. So you said you're glad to be here. I'm glad you are here. I'm glad you granted me the opportunity. Y'all, he said he turned down the likes of Mary Mitchell and the Chicago Tribune. But I got lucky enough to get dibs on the tea. So, oh wait, hold on. Before we do that, the chat, everybody, thank you all for joining the stream. Hey, Eugene, still long time no see. I know I missed you, Eugene. I hope all of the other people, my fave, show up tonight. Hey, Mandrell, I saw you all out in those YouTube, IG street. It's good to see you here. Kawhi Palmer, I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you. Welcome to the chat. Feel free to ask me questions as we go along, and I'll be jumping in periodically with questions from the chat. And yeah, so the Dapper Dan.
That's what they call me.
We're gonna get to how did you become your childhood like? Because we know you didn't start out like this. You were, I don't want to say advanced age, but older. You weren't, a teenager doing this. So tell us a little bit about background. Parents, siblings, your cousins.
Absolutely. Well, I was born, just, when I was brought up in the ministry, my father in the ministry used to say, son, start out in first gear, end up in fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to just jump into fourth gear. I was born to an intravenous drug user. My mother was an intravenous drug user and a prostitute.
Wow.
She was Don Juan's bottom, what they call bottom hole, for lack of a better word. But that's what they call them on the street.
Right.
And so 2 days after I was born, she abandoned me. She put her clothes on and snuck out of Cook County Hospital and left me there. And so my grandmother, who raised me, that's who I called Mama all my life. They called over because she worked at County Hospital as well. And they called over and said, Goose, because they called her Mother Goose. They said, Goose, this girl done left this boy over here. Now, if you come get him by the morning, we'll give them to you. But if not, we got to call them people. And so she went home and told her husband that what had happened. And my grandfather, through marriage, said, "Magdalene, we can't leave that boy out there." So they went and got me. Make a long story short. So that's basically how I got into this world, kicking and screaming, fighting for my life from day one, basically.
Okay. So your grandmother is who raised you.
My grandmother who raised me, Earlene Newsom. I actually have her husband's last name.
Okay.
Since my mom abandoned me, on my birth certificate to this day, it still says Baby Boy Lofton. She didn't even name me. I had no first name. I had her last name, and my grandmother gave me her husband's last name. So blood-wise, I'm not a Newsom. I'm a Lofton. And apparently my father's last name is Davis. Marvin Davis, which I've never met, never seen his voice, never seen a picture of him, never heard his voice.
Wow.
And so that's, basically how I came into the world. My grandmother raised us on the south side of Chicago, single parent, along with her mother, who was a double amputee. And me and her shared a room together up until maybe I was 10, 11 years old. Grandma on one side of the bed, or on one side of the room, I'm on the other side. And what people, I never even shared this with my brothers and sisters. My grandmother sometimes would holler and scream all night long. Now imagine a 7, 8-year-old boy laying in his bed, his grandmama across the room, laying in her bed, moaning and groaning all night long. Oh Lord, oh Lord, pain, oh Lord, crying, and she would use the bathroom on herself. The room would just fill up with the smell, and I would just have to bury my face in the pillow and go to sleep. I mean, I couldn't complain, and I never complained. I never told my mama, "Get me out of this room. I don't want to stay in this room, Grandma." I never did that. Never did. I dealt with it. I love my grandma. I knew she couldn't help herself. And what made it so ironic, I was there when she had her very first stroke. I remember. I have a memory like an elephant. I was sitting at the kitchen table. I was 4 years old because I wasn't even in kindergarten yet, because I was at home and she was watching me. And she got up from the kitchen table, and I remember seeing her leg, and it was like a noodle. It was just like flopping. And she was holding onto the counter. And I played Army Men. I always loved Army Men. And I said, "Grandma, are you okay?" And she said, "Yeah, baby, I'm fine." And the next thing I know, Grandma was coming back home with no leg. And about a year later, they cut the other one off. And I had to share a room with my grandma. And those were some of the earlier experiences, I believe, shaped me to have the compassion that I have for people today. Being in that room with my grandmother, night after night, hearing her suffer with pain in her body like she did. And I didn't tell nobody. I didn't complain. I didn't none of that. I waited up. I had compassion for my grandmother. I'll be in my room playing. When grandma laying in the bed, I'll be in there playing, and like she ain't nothing. Wow. Just a child, enjoying her life, enjoying being around my grandma.
Okay. And just for clarification, who you're referring to as your grandmother is
My great,
biologically your great grandmother,
absolutely,
but you
absolutely,
recognize your
absolutely,
grandmother as your mother.
absolutely,
Now,
absolutely.
your
Right.
biological mother, you
Hmm.
said that she was a drug user. She was one of Don Juan's bottom B words, as they call them on the streets.
Right.
Did she have any kind of role in your life as you were growing up, or did she just leave you at the hospital and you never saw her again?
Yeah. We knew who she was. I mean, she had a relationship with me and my sister because she had 4 children. My
Okay.
older sister, then me, my younger sister, then I have a brother who I've never met. She done us all that way. At a very young age, she left us all. My sister was was with my mother, who is my grandmother. They got her a year before they got me, and then they got me.
Mm-hmm.
So she was in and out of our life my entire life. She would come, show up, pop up at the house, and Mama would let us stay with us. And I didn't know at the time, but she was getting this check, and of course it comes on the first. So whenever the first came around, she would disappear. I leave for work, I leave for church, leave for school in the morning, and she's normally asleep. And when I come home for lunch, she gone. We thinking, went to the store or something. She gone. Um, no matter what time of the month that she came to stay with us, on the first of the month, she was gone.
Gone.
She didn't say I'm leaving or anything. She left. She was in our life my whole life. She was in our life, in our life, absolutely. So we knew who she was. We knew she was our mother. We never called her mother, but the
Again.
way that my mother raised us, we had to respect her. Even though she was what she was,
Mm-hmm.
we never disrespect her. We never, we treated her like an adult. We never called her mama, but we treated her with respect. And to this day, the hardest thing, and here's a woman who's never done anything for me a day of my life. And when I actually went away to prison, which I'm getting kind of head, she was one of the ones that hurt me the most. But the most difficult thing to this day that I've had to do is stand and preach her eulogy and not say a cross word about her. I sent her out of here like she was the mother of the year. Um, I didn't clap her up. Oh, she was a great mother. I didn't do any of that because she wasn't, but I didn't tear her down either. I
Okay.
didn't tear her down. I sent her out here like the mother of the year. My text was, honor that mother and that father, that thy days might be well upon the earth. And my subject was, I must honor my mother. And that's what I did.
Okay. And as far as her lifestyle, how is it that you became aware that she was, I'll say, working for Don Juan and that she was using drugs? Was that common knowledge? At what age, were you made aware of this, or did you know this all your life?
All my life. You had to know early to do some my
Wow.
mother. You had to know my mother. Um, yeah, it was out there. It was common knowledge. They didn't keep that from us. My mother actually was an amazing singer. She sang with Natalie Cole, Shaka Khan, and Natalie Cole's husband, Marvin Yancey, who was also a pastor on the west side of Chicago. They were all amazing singers and talents, and they sang at a youth gospel group.
Mm-hmm.
They could all sing. They were all very talented, but they also all had something else in common. All of them were addicts.
Wow.
Oh, and
Wow.
so my mom, who could out sing all of them, it was common knowledge who and where she was. We even would run up on her sometimes. We would, be driving going to a restaurant on the low end of Chicago. People from Chicago know the low end is, 50s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s. And she'd be down on 63rd, 47th, 43rd. And we'd go down there to a restaurant or something. I remember one time we saw her laying in the doorway, balled up in the doorway. And she had fell off. And so everybody knew what she was. When my brother graduated 8th grade, we still had, I think the pictures in my mother's obituary. When my brother, which is her blood brother, graduated 8th grade. I call him my brother because that's how my mother raised us. He didn't raise us as aunts and uncles and nephews. My mother raised us all as brothers and sisters. So Eric Newsom is really my uncle, which is her brother, but we were raised as brothers and sisters. So anyway, he came to his graduation, a gold and green Rolls Royce with a steering wheel on the right-hand side, pulled up in front of our house. It was Don Juan driving, and my mother, he dropped her off. And she gets out the car with a fur coat on in June. With a fur coat on in June. And my mother lit into her. People on the block. We got a very close block, very established block. Nobody moved off the block. Nobody moved in. Very stable. And so everybody knew everybody. And so when the car pulled up, everybody come out and look at her, stand on their porches. And my mother was very conscious about her image. Very conscious, very image conscious woman. And when Bonnie came through that door, my mother lit her up. Don't you ever come over here like that. Everybody know who that mother is. And I couldn't understand. I'm a little kid at the time. I couldn't understand what the problem was. I was fascinated with the car. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, he always had a stylish vehicle.
Right, they were always green and gold. And of course, I didn't know who he was at the time, but as time went on, it just, because she went from the top to the bottom,
Okay.
Yeah, and we always knew. It was never, and everybody else knew, so it was always common knowledge, what she was.
How did you feel about that though? Like, sometimes kids can be cruel. Were you ever teased by, friends or classmates or anything if it was common knowledge what your biological mother, I'm not going to say your mother because you acknowledge somebody else, but how did you feel about your friends knowing this or even neighbors?
Absolutely devastated. But I held it in. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. But, in the 70s, you couldn't express that as a child. You had to find other ways to let that out, let that emotion out. I was mostly my church family, church people, because we were rooted in the church here in Chicago.
Okay.
Most of them knew. A lot of my friends in the neighborhood had no clue. Okay. But the church folks, they were very aware. Because Bonnie grew up in the church. My mom and brother, and we were all established. We were stars in the church, for another lack of a better word. So everybody knew Bonnie, and so everybody knew, in the church. But in my neighborhood, I didn't really have a problem because a lot of people didn't even know who she was. They didn't know who she was. They just knew Miss Newsom. That was Michael's mama, Michael Mooney mama. But it devastated me to the point where when I was 10 years old, I tried to take my life for the first time because I was embarrassed of my black skin, my big nose, my buck teeth, and my mom.
Wow.
Embarrassed. And I couldn't change that. I wanted to be a white boy. I wanted to be a little white boy. And I went down in the basement of my mother's house. I got me some Tide. Put it in a cup, wanted it, and drank it. Spit it up immediately. And I was like, man, if I kill myself, my mama gonna kill me. So I got myself together, and
laughing about things that aren't funny, you know, after you've gotten past it
Yeah.
and healed from that, then you find humor in the
Yeah.
not so humorous things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now after this suicide attempt,
Yeah.
we know that, you know, mental health is something that's not readily discussed in the African American communities. But I'm wondering if you were maybe an exception. Did you get any therapy? Did you speak to anybody about it? They just, it happened and we're moving past it.
Well, Jennesis, you know, like I said, you know, in the 70s, mental illness was taboo. Weak, uh, crazy, and it just didn't. It was just something that we didn't deal with in our community, in our family, in the 70s and 80s. I went to therapy for the first time in '96, kicking and screaming, and I still go to this day. I would never not go to therapy.
Yes.
I had the same doctor up until about 3 years ago. They made him retire, and I since got another one who was just as great as my past doctor. Um, and I recommend to anybody. God is great. God can do anything, but get you some therapy as well.
Absolutely.
Because the church is inadequate in a lot of areas. You know, we got people in place that's not qualified to deal with certain things, and so get you some professional help, please. And you know, it was like I was a grown man before I realized that well, and I was made to go to therapy. Like I said, I went kicking and screaming, kicking and screaming, kicking and screaming. 'Cause we didn't deal with it. Of course, I didn't tell my mother that I tried to kill myself. I didn't. And that was 8 suicide attempts. That was the first one. I had 8 of them and 7 more after that. And so I never shared these things. One of them was so public because they had to come and get me off the roof at Roosevelt University. So that made the TV.
We have to go back a second. We had technical difficulties, so we missed the first part of that. You were talking about how you went to therapy, you recognized therapy, and then you transitioned to another story that you had started, and then it cut out right at the beginning of that.
Well, no, I was saying that you know, I've been going to therapy since '96. And I went, like I said, I went kicking and screaming, but I've been going ever since. And I never told my mom, you know, that I did what I did, try to take my life. So I went through life basically with depression, bipolar, and childhood PTSD. Even though I was in the military, I don't have combat PTSD. I have childhood PTSD. Simply because of the whoopings and beatings I got so much. And that went untreated, literally all my life. And so that's the story of a lot of men and women that grew up during the era that I grew up. A lot of our situations were untreated because our parents had one remedy, and that was a butt whooping. You know, if you want to feel depressed, well, depress them dishes and you'll feel better. You know, depress that garbage out there. You know, that's what you need. Yes. That's what you do. You know?
Yes.
they had one remedy.
You say one word, and they're gonna make a whole sentence out of it and keep going. You know, yeah, we relate to that. So
yeah,
you mentioned
and that was the remedy.
Military.
That was the remedy. That was the remedy.
You mentioned the military. How did you end up in the military? Now wait. We're okay. We get the childhood traumas, but then the military. When I hear military, I think, you know, discipline. Was there a point where you the past behind?
I tell people all the time, people always say the military will instill discipline in you. No, it won't. No, it won't.
It
The
won't.
military won't instill discipline in you. You have to have at least a little bit of discipline.
Okay.
The military will build on that, but it will not instill. If
Okay.
you go into the military acting a fool, they will put you out. Okay, all right. They will
So
they ain't dealing with that.
you
You have to have a certain amount of discipline, and I don't care how small it is. They will take that little small discipline and they will build on it. But if you go in buck wild, and they're not fooling with you. They will put you out there. And so
okay.
I had discipline, and so the military was able to build on a little discipline, even though I got in trouble in the military because, like you said, I was wild, but I had a controlled wildness. Nobody really knew that I was behaving the way that I was behaving because I had a cover. My cover was my sister growing up.
Mm-hmm.
My sister stayed in trouble. And she's a year older than me. Also an amazing singer. Mooney would shut it down,
Mm-hmm.
could out-sing anybody. And I was directing the choir. My sister was singing. And so, we were stars. But my sister stayed in trouble. And I just slid under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother had put so much attention on her. But I just slid under. I was gang banging. I was doing some everything.
But you just said y'all were church kids. So
Come on
you're
now.
doing
Come
all
on.
of this as a church kid.
Come on now. Come on. Gang banging Monday through Saturday and directing the choir on Sunday.
Living a
And
double life.
that's how most of the people in our church and church period, that my mama friends, we would have parties in the basement of our house. And everybody that was at the party was either members of our church or members of somebody else's church.
That's church.
So as a child, I called them church parties because I didn't know no better. I thought they was church parties because everybody there was members of the church. And they were there drinking and doing whatever they wanted to do.
Wow.
And that's how I got introduced to alcohol, because after the day after the party, my job was go down in the basement and clean the basement up. And of course, they would leave cups of alcohol still in it down there, and the basement still smell smoky like a lounge. And I would go down there and empty the cups in the garbage, and every now and then I take a sip out of it, And that was my introduction to alcohol at about 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere around there. But
7
everybody,
years old, you're drinking alcohol?
absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I was slick about it. I would drink the light alcohol and then fill it back up with water, so my mama would know that that it was gone, because gin looks like water, and that was my introduction to alcohol.
So you sneak in the liquor,
Mm-hmm.
replacing it with water, so nobody would ever know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
From 7. So
7, 8 years old.
you as a young kid had established a pattern of behavior of living this double life. You're going to church and living this upstanding life part of the week and raising hell the rest of the week.
I say we were bi-spiritual because we enjoyed the pleasures of both the world and the church.
Okay.
We had it. We had every record, every song that ever came out by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
The Gap Band, Earth, Wind and Fire, the OJs, anybody. And we also had every album that came out by the church. Mighty Mouse Clark and James Cleveland and the O'Neill brothers, the O'Neill twins, and Dr. Thomas Dorsey. Anything that came out, we had it both. We were at every major church event, and we were at every major secular event as well. We enjoyed the pleasures of both the the church in the world. And
Okay.
we weren't spiritual at all, but we were religious, and we practiced religious things. We were at church there was not a Sunday we wasn't at church. The church that I grew up in was organized in the basement of our church, in the basement of our home, by 7 families. And that's the Nexus Baptist Church. And my mother was a founding member of that church. And so we have a long rooted history in the church here in Chicago. They came out of Greater Harvest when Pastor Body was the pastor at the time. Pastor Eric Thomas is the pastor now. And anybody know about Greater Harvest? Know Greater Harvest was a flagship church on the south side of Chicago back in the day. And Pastor Body, he was the man. Well, nobody bigger than Body here in the city of Chicago. And so we have a long rooted history here in the city.
Okay, so I do know a little part of your story. I know that at some point you became a preacher.
Mm-hmm.
So is this the natural course of things because your history was so rooted in the church? I mean, one of the founding families of this church that was started. Is that how you got into ministry, or was this a choice based on, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it this way. You had to come to Jesus.
Absolutely not.
This is where
Absolutely
I'm going.
If I had my way, I wouldn't be preaching. I tell people all the time, preaching is not something that you take up. It takes up you. You don't get into the ministry like you get into becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. I was minding my business. I wanted to be a choir. I was directing the choir. I was fine with that. That's what I always wanted to do. And when I had the opportunity to
choir,
yes.
You were directing the choir. You didn't choose to be a preacher. So how did you become a preacher?
No, I was directing the choir. I started directing the choir in 7th grade, and I was called for the ministry when I was 19.
Okay,
I minding my business.
You
minding my business, and the Lord called me to preach. I was laying in my bed.
Here's the technical difficulties again.
Oh, okay. Where we cut off that? I can hear you.
We're going to keep the party rolling despite these technical difficulties. I don't know. We're going to get through it. Okay, so we had a little bit of lag. I was asking you how you became a preacher, and you said you wanted to be a choir director.
And I was. I started directing the choir when I was in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And at 19, I was called to preach.
Called by whom? Called by whom?
By God. I was called by God to preach. I was laying in my bed, and I remember the Lord rocking me on my shoulder, and I was sleeping. It was my first apartment. I moved out of my mother's house on 83rd and right off of Michigan over there, 83rd Indiana, somewhere in that area. So I'm laying in the bed, rocking on my shoulder. I said, "Wait a minute, who just pushed me?" And I balled up like a baby with my back, my face to the wall, my back to the door. And I could feel a strong presence in my room, in that basement apartment. The Skiles was my landlord.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm laying in the bed shaking. Rock me again on my shoulder, second time. And I'm shaking, I'm laying in bed, I'm like, oh my God, who is this in my room? Who's in my third? I said, now, if you rock me again, I know somebody's in my room. And rock me a third time. I said, oh God. And the voice of the Lord said to me, get up and be about my Father's business and preach the gospel. Okay. And it was over just like that.
Now,
I lost my mind because I didn't know one, even though I've been in church all my life. Jennesis, watch this. I didn't know one scripture. I was directing the choir, didn't know one scripture. And I was like, Lord, you got the wrong person. You got the wrong person. I ain't been to no preacher. Not Michael Newsom. And I ran from it. I ran. And they'll tell you, he will tell you. I ran. I literally ran. I got on a plane. Never been on a plane before in my life. I went to Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. And said, I'm gonna start my life over. I left my car that my pastor had co-signed for. I left that car at O'Hare Airport. Left him a note. Left my branch manager a note. I think I left my best friend a note and left my mama a note. I told her I was gone. Nobody knew what was wrong with me. They thought I lost my mind. And I took off. I'm going, not me. Not me. I ain't gonna have nothing to do with no preacher. Nope.
Came back. At some point, you came back because you ended up back in the Chicago area. And you're preaching. Now, yeah, we got the little background story. Now we want to move into the meat and potatoes of it. How do you go from a preacher to prison?
Well, when you're growing up, now that we put it all together through therapy and counseling and all of that, we put it all together. You know, I had developed. I have an addictive personality.
Okay.
Undiagnosed. You know, I didn't know what an addictive personality was. You know, and started drinking, sampling, or dabbling in alcohol at 7, 8 years old. And then I found my brother's marijuana stash in 6th grade, going in 7th grade. Found his marijuana stash, and I was like, oh. So I pulled out an album cover. I was going to roll me a joint. Never seen marijuana before in my life, but somehow I knew exactly what to do.
Oh.
So just as I pulled out an album cover to roll the weed on, and it said Matty Moss Clark and the Church of God in Christ Mass Choir. I put that one back. Oh, I can't clean no weed on Matty Moss Clark album cover. I can't do that. So I put that one back. Put out James Cleveland and the West Angeles. I can't pull another one out. Casey and the Sunshine Band. Okay, I can put it on this. And I crushed it with and rolled the weed, and I've been smoking weed since 6th grade. Every day.
Every day.
Nobody knew it. High school, walking from 92nd, 91st to Normal to 87th to catch the bus, smoking a joint on the way to school. Smoking a joint after school.
You are
on the way to church.
A preacher.
Smoking a joint.
You're a preacher smoking weed.
Yeah.
You're in the military smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
And you still drinking at this time also.
Still drinking, smoking weed. Every day of my life. And a lot of folks around me were doing the same thing.
In the
but
church.
Different between me. A lot of people didn't know I was doing it. You know, I never had a bunch of guys around. I was never that kind of guy. I got to run with the crowd, got a bunch of guys around me. I was solo, low key, and that's what I did.
Person that they would never suspect.
Never suspect. You know, I started having sex in 7th grade. And if you would have lined up all the 7th graders, I probably would have been in the middle of the pack. If you say, "Oh, he's having sex," but the 7th grader I was having sex with, you probably would have never picked her. You know, and so we were able to slide on the radar, and I did this literally every week. And I got high and at least high every day. Every day I was sitting in school, high there. Every day.
The fact that you were able to maintain the secret life that went undetected did that play a part in the future choices that you would make? Like you were the, as they say, the unusual suspect.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I first saw Robert Banks, Tamara Hall, she's one TV personalities here in Chicago. I
Yes.
think I'm not sure what channel it was,
Tamara
but she
Hall,
was
she was on
yeah,
Fox.
Tamara Hall. She was yes,
Yeah.
she was on Fox. You say
I believe she
yeah,
was on Fox.
yeah, and so they would always highlight me. And Dapper Dan struck again yesterday.
So wait, hold on. Let's back up. Let's back up before.
All right.
Okay. Where did you get the idea? Like, what were you thinking when you decided, hey, I'm gonna go rob a bank? What
Well,
was there
when
any?
I was in high school, I was the president of a work program called, it was DECA, Distributive Education Club of America, and we all had to have jobs.
Okay.
So the head of the program, Mr. Spencer, she got me a job at which is Chase now, but it was First National Bank back then.
Okay.
And I was one of the only ones literally working downtown. I think maybe one or two of us were working downtown. But so I worked at First National Bank.
Mm-hmm.
One of the buddies that I met down there, his mom was a teller.
Okay.
And then she got him a job as a teller. So he would just be talking about his day, and I would just be listening, not knowing that I was, subconsciously storing this information in my computer up here. This thing is dangerous. And so I ended up actually working for 5 different banks in the loop. And I always had information about tellers that they were trained to give you money, whatever it is. And so when I started on the hard drugs, money got tight.
So at some point, you went from using marijuana to using other drugs.
Yeah, at 27, I switched to the hard drugs. 27 years old, I switched to the hard drugs. And the type of money that I needed, they don't have in the corner store. And I wasn't going to knock your grandmama in the head and take her purse coming out of the curtain straight. I wasn't that kind of brother. And most people scared of real money. Most black folks, most drugs on the street scared of real money.
Okay.
The money in them banks where the white folks at, and they scared of that. They scared they're gonna rob us. And I always had ice water in my veins. I was never scared of nothing. I find the biggest guy and run up on him, and I ain't ever been no silent. I didn't get over 200 pounds. I was until 2000. So I always been kind of a slim guy, but never scared of nothing. And so I decided, okay, the type of money I need is in them banks, and I know how they train. So my little twisted thinking, went back to all those conversations back in the 80s that I had with my friends that worked in banks. I said, oh, okay. And sure enough, one led to over 20.
So, okay, let's go back because I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this.
And if I'm rambling, just stop because
No, I'm just trying to understand. You know how when I thought to, try and get the opportunity to have this conversation, like I've seen a number of crime shows, and some of them are so outrageous. I would always think to myself, what are you thinking? Like, how did you get to this point? Well, you just told us how you got to this point. You had an addiction and you were trying to fund your addiction. And obviously the habit was enough where you needed big money. So then you had the idea, I'm going to go rob a bank.
Pretty much.
From thought to execution, was this something that you planned for several months, or did you just have the idea and say, hey, I'm about to go do it?
about to go do it. The planning, I guess, subconsciously took place back in the 80s. The planning started then, with me not knowing. The first
When you were
conversation I had
the
with my
first child.
friend, yeah, I believe the planning started then. I believe the
Okay.
reservation was made in the very first conversation that I had with Don, and not
Okay.
even knowing it, not even knowing
Okay. We need you to rewind, because the devil don't want us to share the
it. Yeah,
story or this part of the story. You said the idea you think was conceived back in the 80s.
yes, I believe the reservation was made the very first conversation I had with my friend Don that worked in the bank, not even
Mm-hmm.
knowing that's what was taking place in my mind. It was an innocent conversation. Two guys talking about their day. I worked in the messenger section. He worked as a teller. And we got
Mm-hmm.
off at the same time. We just talking, And I believe, Jennesis, at that time, the reservations was made. And then from bank to bank, the information was being stored, not knowing that I was going to abuse this information years later. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I felt like my back was against the wall, I need to get this money. I'm not going to knock nobody's grandmama in the head. Corner store ain't got the kind of money that I need. And if I'm going to get caught, it may be worth it. Might as well be worth it. And so these were the things that I actually told myself. If I'm going to do something like this, don't go out like a punk and hit the corner store for $40. You got to hit 1,000 corner stores.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, if I'm going to do something as stupid and crazy as this, and risk death, risk my freedom,
Mm-hmm.
Michael, make it worth it. And this is how I was talking to myself. This is how I was actually talking to myself. And I remember the first time I did it. This is one of those moments that I never revealed to anybody.
Okay.
I was in treatment at Hinesville Hospital.
Drug treatment.
Yes, drug treatment.
Okay.
And we would get a lot of breaks. We would get like 2-hour, 3-hour breaks. And we were able to move around the entire hospital. There wasn't a locked unit. You can go off the unit. You just couldn't leave the hospital. Right?
Okay.
My discharge day was coming up. I didn't have anywhere to go once I got discharged. I'm like, I'm not going back to the streets. I'm not sleeping on the street. I'm not going to no shelter. First of all, I need money to live. And of course, when I leave this drug treatment, I'm getting high again. Yeah. People not ready for this type of transparency. People not ready for this type of honesty, but this is the type of talk that keeps me free. It keeps me clean, keeps me grounded. My secrets kept me sick. And when you expose yourself, you can't hide then. And so the things that went through my head, well, people are in treatment right now, knowing they're going to get high the day they leave. And so I said, no, when I get out of here, I got to live and I need to get high. On one of them breaks, I jumped on the bus, went to Park Forest train, rolled all the way downtown, robbed the bank, jumped in a taxi, went to a water tower, bought me some cologne, and took the taxi back to the hospital.
So you are in drug treatment, on a break.
Mm-hmm.
You decide, I'm going to get on the train, go downtown, rob the bank, go get me some smell good, and then go back to the drug treatment.
Some Angel Cologne. I love Angel Cologne, to the point that in one of my discovery papers, after I robbed one of these banks, I'm reading the Discovery. I'm sitting in my cell reading the Discovery. And it says, the teller said, after he left, she turned to her coworker and said, "Hey, I just got robbed." And the coworker said, "By who? When?" She said, "Just now. By that good-looking gentleman that just left out of here. And I still smell his cologne. It's early in my Discovery. I still smell his cologne." I was known for that cologne. And yeah, I've
Wow.
always dressed nice. So that's what the FBI dubbed me the Dapper Dan for his nitty attire. That's what they the words that they use. His nitty attire. They dubbed me the Dapper Dan. So
So
always
you're
dressed nice.
even through your addiction,
Always
still
always
well
had
dressed.
tailor-made suits on. Always looked nice. And that was my cover. That was a part of my cover. Was
Okay,
my
they're
appearance.
living the double
Yeah.
life. They won't suspect that I'm using drugs if I'm not disheveled or I don't look like a drug user.
Them church folks, girl. Them church folks. Church folks. Most church folks are so fake. Most church folks are living double lives.
Okay.
And especially when my addiction was at its highest, when it was at its out of control, when it was at its height. I was actually one of the associate ministers at Salem Baptist Church.
Mhm.
And you know, being in the elite crowd there, and you know, most everybody on that level was fake. And it's easy to be fake when everybody around you is fake.
Mhm.
It's easy to live a double life when most folks that you have in contact with in the church is living double lives. How you gonna talk about me? I know where your bodies are buried. So that's one of the issues we have today.
Mhm.
No, that was, I had a more than a double life. I had I had several lives, several lives. I mean, the book that I wrote, I'm trying to get it published now. I opened it up by saying I was a man with 1,000 faces. I had 1,000 faces, 1,000 faces. And you never suspect none of them. Back to the Tamara Hall story.
So wait, can I stop you for
Go ahead,
one
because this ties into the
Okay.
faces. Go ahead.
First bank robbery.
Mm-hmm.
How much money did you get?
I have no idea.
Did
The
you
different
stop
ones,
and count it?
because they every time you pull up a report, they had different amounts.
Okay. And
But
you
I
never
just know,
stopped counting.
I just know it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands,
Hundreds of thousands of
hundreds
dollars
of thousands.
from your
Yeah, hundreds of
first bank
thousands.
heist.
No, not the first, but all together.
Oh, so all together. Okay.
Yes,
So,
yes. So I have no idea what I was coming up out of there with. An individual bank individual robberies. I have no idea. I just knew I want this bag filled up,
mhm.
and I want certain denominations, because other denominations, that's where they put the die packs and stuff in. I got this information from, and so I steered away from that. And I got a die pack one time. Also, the tracking devices, they put those in there, and they put those in there in certain denominations. So I would ask to stay away from those denominations.
So you brought your own bag,
Mhm.
bank robbery, and what was your MO, so to speak, or modus operandi? Did you just walk in and hand me the money? Was there a weapon involved?
People say when they saw my pictures and stuff, "Man, you ain't even have a mask on." I said, "You try walking in a bank with a mask on and see if they stop you at the door." How you cooking it? When I interviewed for I'm not gonna call that bank because I work for them. When I interviewed for them, the executive vice president, she interviewed me. She's a black female. She said,
Mhm.
"Michael, if you look like you belong, Act like you belong, then you belong. And I took that information as well.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm walking in the bank and looking like I belong here, ain't nobody gonna suspect me. But if you walk in the bank with a mask on, they're gonna stop you at the door. Huh? You're not gonna get to the teller with. They're gonna stop you at the door. So
Mm-hmm.
you gotta look like you're harmless. So I walked in the bank, um, look like I
Well,
belong
Dapper
there.
Dan, because it's my that in one or maybe several of the bank robberies, you were wearing a camel hair coat.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I don't know who is a drug user who is wearing tailor-made suits, camel
Mhm.
hair coats, and fedoras.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was all a part of my cover. And that costume was really
Stop
for the
for a
church.
second. You said that was
That was really a costume. That costume was really for the
part
church.
of the costume.
Yeah, that costume was for the church. Because that's how I appeared in church. Every time you saw me, I was dressed that way. We wore
And you walk
suits.
into the bank with your bag and just say, give me what bills? You want large bills.
Mhm. I like like I said, the 50s and the hundreds, no
Gee,
20s, because they put the die pack mostly in the 20s, because they ain't gonna blow up the big, they ain't gonna blow up no $100 bill. So um, I asked for that, and I watched them, and I had a broken pellet gun that I bought
a
from
broken.
a broken pellet gun that I brought from Walmart. Looked like a real gun. It was
Juice.
steel.
We get to the juicy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Have
oh
a
yeah, oh yeah. We,
technical
we round we round the corner. We rounding the corner now. I'm bringing it all home. Now my thinking
something or another. Okay, we can't say because we don't want this video flagged. We can't say certain words, but I
walk
think you were describing a weapon. You had a broken some sort of weapon,
right,
and
and by the weapon being made out of steel as well, and most countertops and banks are made out of marble. Am I correct?
true.
So when you lay steel on marble, it makes a sound, pop. And I banked on that sound alone, intimidating those to the point where they would go ahead. Oh no, this guy serious. That's a real weapon. Um,
But
but if
this
you
isn't
looked
a
at the nozzle, which I had my
okay.
big
Is
old
this a
hand
broken
over,
weapon?
it was broke. It was broke. Broke. And so, but you didn't know that.
Okay,
And
wait,
so,
hold on. We had technical difficulties
oh
again.
my God.
My goodness. Okay, so you had a broken fake weapon or a broken real weapon?
A broke fake weapon.
A
It
broken
was it was fake and broke.
fake and broke. The Dapper Dan got a broke fake
just
weapon.
just like I was fake and broke.
So you put it on the counter as
And
a
made
means
I put on the counter
of
basically to make the
you
noise,
want them to hit a thud.
right. And that thud alone will cause you to, do what. Yeah. And I wouldn't say
Are you
nothing. I
asking
always
no?
slide
Are
it.
you telling her, give me all the money?
I never, I rarely said anything. I would always have it on note, just slide the note, because, when you walk in the bank, you go to the island and you fill out your deposit or and so you always tell us are accustomed to receiving pieces of paper. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I slid mine, they thinking it's a deposit, deposit slip or whatever. And they read it, and the first thing they do is look up at you. Like, really?
Like,
And
is
I would
this
say,
really real?
and I would just simply say, be calm, just be calm. Just like this, I'm talking to you. Be calm, just be calm. And they would look again, and look again, And if they would hesitate, then here come the bank, and then they would get in line. I'll get the money and calmly walk out. Because if you run,
Money.
you're going to draw attention to yourself. You're going to draw attention to yourself. Calmly walk out.
Do you run after you get out the door, or do you just calmly walk down the street?
Sometimes I calmly walk down the street. I knew where my car was parked. Everything was done calmly. Everything was done calmly. Everything was done calmly.
Did you ever have any fears? Like, most banks have security, armed security, who have a working gun or a working vehicle. Hey, Enye, did you ever think, or had you thought it that far through? Like, okay, what if I get in here? I have this fake broke weapon. If security gets me, he's got a real one. Did you ever have any fears of having a confrontation with security in the bank?
Absolutely. I thought everything through. I might have done a lot of stupid stuff, but I ain't crazy. No. If he would have drew down on me, that would have been the end of it. Like it was when it was the end. They drew down on me, and once again, I sat there calmly. It's over.
But that never happened.
No, it happened.
It did.
They drew down on me, and when they drew down on me, like I said, I was like, I sat there real calm in the car.
That's when you finally got caught. Yeah. But you robbed several banks. How many banks did you rob?
Over 20.
Over 20 banks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, I know a little bit of this story. So there was a point where you had a Bentley.
A what?
A Bentley. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
You purchased a Bentley with proceeds from the bank robberies.
Yes. And a Cadillac, and I bought my girlfriend at the time bought her a van.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And gave it all back. Gave it all back. I couldn't keep that stuff.
But I mean, there aren't any flags when you go into. First off, we know you aren't withdrawing that much, because after you withdraw a certain amount of money, then it gets reported to the government. How do you walk into a dealership with that much money to purchase these vehicles undetected? Or do you go in and say, hey, I'm financing, and then you pay the note with the proceeds from the robbery? How does that work?
Jennesis. You don't go into a dealership.
Okay.
You buy it privately. You buy it from somebody.
Privately. Okay.
You buy it privately. You buy it. That's how I purchased my Bentley from somebody. Paid cash for it. Yeah.
Okay.
The Cadillac I bought from a dealership, but of course, that was a certain amount of money. That didn't flag, anybody. And this guy sold vehicles to street guys.
Okay.
And so he knew what to do. He knew what the deal was, and so he had a history of selling vehicles to street guys.
Okay.
And so, but the Bentley I bought from a private owner.
Okay. And at this time, you're still getting high.
Every day.
Every day.
And the things that I had, because I didn't go from raggedy to Bentley. It never flagged anybody because I always looked nice. I always drove a nice car. I didn't have the best of car, but I always, when you saw me, you just, Mike always was sharp. They always saw me as debonair.
Mm-hmm.
a nice dresser. I mean, that's from way back. People
Okay.
just always, so that never flagged anything.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, back to Time Hall, I would see myself, I'll be watching myself on TV with people. And they'd be like, man, they sit right there with me. Oh man, that dude, he tearing him up, boy. That guy, he'd have hit him again. Oh, I hope they'll never catch him. And I'm sitting right there. Yeah, man, I hope they don't. you know. And
Wow.
almost every other morning, she would highlight me. Dapper Dan, hit again. No. But my mother, my mother knew from day one. And she would call my cousin. She said, Stain, you see Mike on TV? What you talking about, Earlene? That's Mike out there robbing the bank. Earlene, damn, Michael ain't robbing no bank. Michael would never do nothing like that. I'm telling you that, Michael robbing the bank. And she would always say, every time they put me on TV, Michael out there robbing the bank. And I never came around the family when that's what's going on. The family, no friends, nobody saw me. I never came around. I kept that from them. I left the church, and they didn't come looking for me. And so I just fell off the radar. And so nobody saw that, suspected me. And I was clear as day. I didn't have a costume, a mask, or nothing on. But that's just something you would not have associated Michael Newsom with. Now, there's a whole lot of folk out there now that is over and say, I knew that was him. After the fact, you ain't know a damn thing. I said a damn thing. And they look how folks kill me. Yeah, when I saw it, I knew that was, And these are people that hadn't seen me in 30 years, 20 years, high school friends and other people hadn't seen me, and you just pop, Michael Newsom popped in your head. The two don't go together. Michael Newsom and bank robbery. That never, that's the furthest things. But yeah, and I played on all of that.
So when you get the money, you just take the money home, you keep it in the bag, and, on the bed, in the closet.
Well, I kept it in the bag. I went out, I stayed in some of the most fastest hotels down on Michigan Avenue, downtown. Sometimes I'll be in 3 different hotels in a week, just partying and having a good time. I would buy things. I was with my youngest son's mother at the time, partially during this time, and she suspected nothing. She had no idea.
You're a parent. You have kids. You have a family.
I have 4 kids. I have four kids. Not all by her, but she had 6 or 7 kids at the time when I was with her. So we was all in the house together. Nobody suspected nothing.
And nobody's questioning where this money is coming from.
Yeah, she questioned me once. She's like, where are you getting all this money from? And I said that I had cashed in a retirement plan, or so I made up some script for it. Because like I said, I never had to explain money or why I get, because I always had nice things. I always had presented myself to the outside world as being more than what I actually was.
Okay.
My mama taught me that. We were poor, but I didn't know we were poor because of how my mother, presented us to the outside world. We didn't have expensive things, but the things we had looked good.
Okay.
And so she taught me how to take a $6 pair of pants and make it look like $600. Nobody have to know how much money your stuff cost, Michael. And so I was able to parlay that into something bigger. And I always look nice. I don't care if I had 1 pair of shoes at one time in my life. Those shoes looked like they were brand new every time you saw me. And there was times I did have 1 pair of shoes. When I first started preaching, I had 1 pair of dress shoes, and there was a hole in the bottom of them. So when I sat in the pulpit, I made sure I didn't lift my foot up, so people wouldn't see the bottom of my shoe. Had a hole in it. Okay. So I wouldn't cross my legs in the pulpit. I keep my feet on the ground because I got a hole in the bottom of my shirt. I
Okay.
had one pair of shoes. One pair of shoes, I had one suit. Change the tie and change the shirt, and it looked like it was a brand new suit, a different suit. The next time you saw me in it, just change the tie and the shirt.
Okay. Now, these women, I will hold on. I'm assuming I'm gross generalization. These tellers,
Mm-hmm.
when you're passing the note, did you choose if there's 4 tellers, how did you choose, okay, I'm going to that one over there? And after you chose somebody, did you ever feel bad about the fear that you were, instilling in them with the intimidation? I'm gonna go plop this gun on the counter. Did you ever have any regrets or any remorse?
Yes, I'm gonna go backwards.
Okay.
Absolutely, Jennesis. Absolutely, it crushed me. Um, I would be standing in line, and of course, like you said, surveilling the identities, the ethnicities, and the gender.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to go before an older black woman. It would be
Wow.
like robbing my mother or my grandmother. So I was conscious of that. I never wanted to rob black women, period. And I wanted to stay away from men because men ego get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so when men step to a man, you might have a problem. And so that was my thinking. But you really, once it's your turn, you got to go who's available.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of times when I saw that the older black woman was available, next sir, I'm ready, I would turn to the person behind me and say, no, you go ahead. I got to finish filling this out. And I would just wait until somebody I didn't feel so bad about. Somebody was gonna get it, but I just couldn't do um, certain genders and certain ethnicities. But they all got it. Men got it, women got it. But that did cross my mind. That's an excellent question because that crossed my mind several times. Like I said, I would pause and turn to the person behind me and say, "No, you go ahead. Let me. Dang, I messed this up. I made up some type of script just so somebody else would become available."
And
But
you
I'm not
didn't
gonna
want to rob the black women because
Yes,
you looked at it like, hey, this is like, robbing my mother or my grandmother.
yes, no. It's crazy that may sound.
But
Well,
you continued on robbing over
absolutely.
20 banks until eventually you got.
Yeah, I got caught.
Tell us about the day that you got caught.
My first string, uh, I think it was 11. I'm not sure. It was a lot of them. And there I got caught. My count. I was over on the park over on Lakeshore Drive. Go hang out on the lakefront. I would just sit there and gather my thoughts right there next to the children's hospital. That was like my thinking place. And I went to start my car up and alternator would start. So I called my buddy, and he came and got me. And I'm like, man, I need some money. I'm saying to myself, I need some money. I need some money. I had him. He had no idea who I was and what I was doing. He would drive me around, but he had no idea who I was. I didn't reveal nobody what I was doing and who I was. Didn't tell nobody. And so nobody knew.
Mm-hmm.
He takes me to the bank on 95th or right there where was it Pulaski Kansas. I think it's Black, where Chuck E. Cheese used to be in that park.
Okay, that's Pulaski.
Okay. Now I would try my best to go in those banks that I didn't physically see a guard. Okay. I'm not gonna go in there and just an armed guard, uniform guard. That's just stupid. So if I didn't see a guard, okay, I'm going in. I didn't see a guard. I didn't see a guard. But sometimes the guards are in plain clothes and they sitting down, just like they're just blending in. They're sitting there. But those are guards. So I go in. I do what I do. I go in. What'd you say now?
I said it was a technical, a little bit of a lag, but okay. You said sometimes the guards are in plain clothes. They're sitting down.
Yeah. Oh, get it, Charlie horse. But anyway, I go in, and of course I didn't identify him as a guard. I did what I did. Now the guy that I'm with, he's deceased now, but I said, hey man, just be cool here for a minute. I'm going in, put this money in, and I'll be right back.
You're getting a ride to rob the bank, and he doesn't know that you're going in to rob the bank.
I have no idea.
Wow.
So I come out, casual, like I said, walk through the parking lot, get in the car, and oh man, let's go. He pulls off, hits 95th Street, headed back east. We get stopped at the light right there at Pulaski. Now the bank is right there at the light. Now I know this information because once again, Discovery. I'm reading my Discovery, and it says that the guard. I read the guard. I'm like, oh, there's a guard in there. The guard ran out the back door and saw us in traffic and radioed it in. Now you can outrun people, but you can't outrun them radios. And they got to get on the radio, oh, please, and they set up a parameter. And now all this going on, I don't even know. I'm thinking, we're getting away. He made a left, going down Pulaski, headed to 87th Street. And between 87th and 95th Pulaski, there's a cemetery on the right-hand side. There's a car, a police car, sitting in the middle of the island, facing us. I guess observing because they got a description of the car now. So when we passed by, she got right behind us. Boom! Lit us up. He said, man, the police behind us. What's going on? I said, I don't know. I said, take off. He said, man, I'm pulling over. What's going on? I said, I don't know. He pulls off, and they coming from everywhere now. They jumped on the hood. Get out of the car, put your hand. All on the hood, shotgun, and everything. I'm sitting there like I'm talking to you. Money in my lap. The broke weapon.
You still got the same broke weapon.
Yeah, got the same one. They open his door, yanks him out the car. Boom. Now they're at my side. My door's closed. The female got a weapon pointing through the window at my head. Two guys on the trunk, shotguns, and they all around the car. Open the door.
Hang on. We had technical difficulties. It went out right when you said you're sitting in the seat. You got the broke weapon in the back, the money in your lap, and the female police officer comes to your side, and then what?
She's at my side with her weapon drawn. I got a couple of guys on the hood of the car pointing their weapon through the windshield. The driver door is open, so they all, everybody got it. I'm surrounded by all this bunch of weapons. And I'm sitting there like I'm talking to you now.
Right when we get to climax. Okay.
Huh? Yeah.
And when you got all these weapons drawn down on you, what happens?
And they open the door. I said just like this. Tell her open the door. The door's unlocked. I'm not moving. Just like that. She opened the door and politely pulled me out. I have not seen that guy since. We get to the I never seen that guy again. Never seen, and that's significant that when I said that, because something happened in prison that let me know that I got a good name, in the streets. So when we get to the police station,
hold on, pause. So you don't even really know this guy that you're getting in.
I mean, I knew him
He's just
because I knew him, but he didn't know me. He was my driver. He also did some things for me that I didn't want my hands in.
Okay.
He was a street guy, more street than me.
Okay.
He was ahead of one of the opposing gangs that here in the city. I was a member of one. He was a member of the other.
Okay.
And he was one of the top guys. And I wasn't supposed to be in that neighborhood, but because I will be with him, I got a pass. He didn't know anything about me, but I knew him. But he didn't know my real name. He didn't know my name. And he had no idea what I was doing. They pulled him out, and I never seen him again to this day. And he's deceased. I just learned about 6 months ago that he passed away. But anyway, got to the police station. Of course, they're going to talk to me. And I said this, Jennesis. I said, listen, believe me, y'all want to talk to me. I'm the one you really want. But I'm not saying nothing until you let that guy go. He don't know me. He didn't have anything to do with this. He didn't know what was going on. No, I didn't know what they were going to let him go, but they let him go. I didn't find out till years later. I'm in prison. That's when I found out they let him go. But they let him go that day. Within an hour or so, he was back on the block, telling them what had happened. And so
they probably had heard all the stories about.
By that time, yeah. By that time they had. Yep. By that time they put
it alone, and we got him. He's got this guy. We already know that he's a one-man operation.
Yeah. And then they took me downtown. It took me to the Dutch Federal building. And I'll forget the agent name. He was the head agent on the case. And he came in the room. He said, "Who are you?" I said, "I gave my name." He said, "No. Who are you?" I gave my name again. He said, "No. I know you. Yeah, I know your name. I've been tracking you all over the city. You've been you giving us the flux. I definitely know your name, but who are you?" He said, "Because normally when we highlight somebody, we get calls there right after it goes off the TV. That people flood the hotline. I know who that is. That's so and so and so. Oh, that person just walking on you. That person just walking. I know who that is." And then he said, "We even get prank phone calls. I know who that is. Who is that? Daffy Duck." Hang up the phone. Prank phone. He said, "We didn't get one phone call. Who are you?" Nobody.
You were keeping a low profile.
Huh?
I said, "Is this because you were keeping a low profile?"
And nobody suspect that I didn't do anything. My lifestyle didn't change. My behaviors didn't change. And I lived like I had money when I didn't have $2. And so when I had hundreds of thousands of dollars, I didn't change nothing. I didn't change nothing.
Still living the same lifestyle.
Still living the same life.
Other than the Bentley.
Yeah. So, and very few people saw the Bentley. I didn't drive a car every day.
You had an everyday car?
Yeah, I didn't, and it wasn't an everyday car. And I didn't rush to go around and I want everybody to see me. I'm like, no, I ain't never been that kind of dude. Never.
Okay.
Never. I want everybody to see me in my Bentley. Nope.
Okay.
I didn't want you to see me. in my Bentley. Yeah. So a lot of people didn't see me. A lot of people didn't see me. Didn't see me at all.
So now you're caught. You're in police custody down at the Dirksen Federal Building.
The day I went in there, it was April 2002.
Mm-hmm.
My only thought was, Lord, don't let that happen to my mama while I'm in there. Don't let nothing happen to my mother. I had talked to my mother. I had seen my mother. That was my biggest fear. Don't let nothing happen to my mother while I'm in there. That was April. 2 months after I was in there, I had a call. It was a Saturday. Newsom. Went down to the CO desk. The chaplain wanted to see you. What do you want to see me for? He signed up for some kind of program, something he signed. I said, man, I ain't signed up for nothing. I said, man, just go down there and see. So I get on the elevator, go down to Chaplain. Chaplain's on the phone. I look at his office. He said, give me a minute, you know. He finished his phone call. He said, Newsom. I said, yeah. He said, come on, man, I'm ready for you. I go in the office. He says, hey, man, you got a mother, a grandmother. He couldn't really, you know, get it together. He said, you got a mother, a grandmother, Early Newsom. Jennesis right there. I knew. He said, man, I'm sorry to tell you. It was Pastor.
Wow.
I can't tell that. I tell the story. I cannot get through this, do that. And my mother died while I was in prison. And I wasn't able to grieve like I wanted to because, you know, in prison, if you show that type of emotion, they only got one remedy for you: to put you in the hole and put you on suicide watch. So now I gotta go back to my deck, suck it up, know that my brother, I never said brother again.
Wow.
Now go back to the deck. Whenever you leave the deck in prison and come back, all the guys will know, hey man, what happened? What, you know, whatever with you, whatever you leave, whatever. I go back, I'm sitting on my deck, and one of my guys who knew me real well, he could look at my face and see something wrong. I said, man, what's up? What's that? I said, man, my mother died. I said, oh, Mike, what's up with that? So everybody's 100 guys on the deck, 50 on one side, everybody like that, just about. Even guys that didn't like me, they all came by at one time or another. And sometime during the day, when they found out, hey man, Newsom's mother passed today, they all came by. Hey man, I'm sorry, hear about what happened, man. So, you know. And that's how but I put my face in my pillow again and cry because I couldn't let it all out because it was in a hole. And I didn't want to go to the hole because I'm grieving. And so I didn't get out that time until 2007. I hadn't even got my time yet. And they wouldn't let me go to the funeral. They wouldn't let me go view the body. And we was going to pay for it. They denied me. Very difficult time. Very difficult.
Now, did you have any were you able to have any conversations with her at all during this time that you're locked up? So she knows that you're locked up.
Yeah, she was so hurt. She probably didn't know how to reach out to me. You know, she didn't raise me to do what I did. I don't put that on my mother. I knew better. I take total responsibility for what I did. I don't blame it on my child. I don't blame nobody for what I did. I made those decisions for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was crushed. I know she was. I know she was. Absolutely know she was. She was a very proud woman. Her circle of friends were established women and men in the city of Chicago. And she was embarrassed. I know she was embarrassed. She was hurt. She was crushed. Um, yeah. And so she didn't know how to reach out. She didn't know how to reach out. And my biological mother, they had a meeting and they decided they were just going to, step back and they didn't know how to respond. She came to me and she said, Michael, you my son. I never did nothing right by you. I never did anything for you, but I'm going to stand by you doing this. I don't care what the family decide. They're just going to be mad with me. And so I didn't have nobody at the time. So I said, all right, buddy. I said, okay, this is what I need you to do. Everything that they let me keep, I turned it over to her. I gave her power of attorney.
What did they let you keep?
There was money involved that I still had. The cars, they hadn't gotten down. And so I turned everything back over to her. Turned everything over to her. And I said, listen, this is enough money that if they gave me 20 years, it's enough to take care of me and my children the whole time that I'm in here. That's what this money is for.
But isn't she a drug user?
Pardon me?
Isn't she a drug user or is she clean?
She was clean at this time. She got clean the last 30 years of her life. She was clean.
Okay.
Thank God. Yes, the last 30 years of my mother's life, she got clean. She got off heroin and all that. She actually lived a pretty productive life the last 30 years of her life. She really did. So I'm very proud of her about that.
So you give her the money and say,
I turned everything over and I said, those cars, the Cadillac I had her to sell at the dealership. But the Bentley, I kept that in the store where it was at. And I dealt with that when I got out. So I said, take all that and then put that money with what you got. And this is, this and the other. I said, if you ever need anything, just let me know. Okay, I got you. So I would call home like once or twice a month. There's so much you can buy in there. Plus, they give you a limit anyway. You can only spend. Everybody got a same amount that they can spend every month. So I would call home, and she knew the exact amount to send me every time. It was the same amount every time. And so after about maybe 2 months of this, I call home and say, "Hey, money, I need you to send me." Well, I just sent you some money the other day. How soon you need it? I said, how soon I need it? And right then, buy yourself this whatever. I said, what do you mean how soon I need it? I'm on the phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
She got the hen and hard and in my mind, I'm like, I know she's not telling me what she not telling me.
Money gone.
All of it. Just that quick.
What did she do with it?
She loved to gamble. Her partner loved to gamble at the casino. And that was pretty much their recreation, Went out to that casino and went buck wild and lost every dime I gave. Vowed to pay it all back, but I ain't nowhere in the world you're gonna pay all that money. But how you gonna pay, And then what after she stabbed me with the knife, she turned it in my back. She said to me over the phone, if somebody would have gave you that kind of money, you would have spent it too. Money, if you ain't the first person to walk through them doors and on my next visit, I'm gonna catch another case. So I called my brother Paul. I called him and I said, listen, man, this is the deal. This is what happened. I need you to beat her down there. Because if you don't come through here before she do, I think I'm gonna cut the case. So when they popped them doors on my visit, Paul was the second person to walk through the door. And he sat down with me and he talked to me, he got my head together. And then they let you in a group like 10 or 15 at a time. She was in the next group. They popped the doors, she came in there. Now she would normally come with her partner. Every time she was at every visit, her partner would come in. So her partner wasn't with her that time. I'm like, wow, where's Doris? You know, she didn't come with her that time. And she sat there snotting and crying and talking about how she's so sorry and what she's gonna make up. And you know, you can't make that. You can't make that up. You know, you can't make that up. How you gonna make that up? You know, just so since I took it, you know, how can I? You know, that's how my thinking was. You know, I took the money. How can I be mad at her? You know, so that's how I kind of got that out of me and not hold that against her because she ain't never had that in her life, and she had all that money in her possession, and it was too much for her. The temptation was too much for her, and even though yes, I was her child, but I had to forgive her. I had to forgive her for that, even though it was at one of the lowest points of my life. I had to forgive her, and I did.
Did she give any money to your children?
Not a dime.
Not a dime.
Not a dime.
And where are your children in all this? Are they visiting you, or do you still have contact with them during this time that you're incarcerated?
My youngest boy wasn't born at the time. He was born while I was Charlie horse. Anyway, oh my God. So he was born while I was oh my God, girl. Oh God. I can't believe this happened. Anyway, he was born while I was in detention at MCC. And his mom would bring him down there.
While you're incarcerated, you have a child that's born while you're incarcerated.
Yep. And she would bring him to me. Little baby, he was just born. And then when I got shipped away in the feds, you know, you go to a whole other state. So I was in Elton, Ohio, Miami, Michigan, Atlanta. They couldn't come see me. But my middle boy, his mom would bring him to see me as well. My oldest son, I didn't see him until I got out. And I didn't know I had a daughter until she was 24. So I didn't see her. But my two youngest, I did see. Their mothers brought them to me. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we keep the party rolling. You do your time. You get out. Are you a changed man after you get out?
A little bit.
Or what'd you do?
I get out in 2007. While I was in there, my very first girlfriend ever in life. I was in 8th grade, going into high school. She was in 7th grade, going into 8th grade. She was my very first girlfriend. Girl in same church I went to. We talked about getting married then. We fell out of contact for about 25 years. And I got a letter while I was in prison. I thought it was a pen pal letter. But after about the third letter, I figured out this is something, you know. And so, make a long story. Pardon me?
I said, this is such and such from the past.
Right, exactly. And so I said, you busted. But if this is not you, I feel really stupid. So she wrote me back, laughed at it, like, how'd you figure out, you know? And it was her. So she came to see me. She was living in Atlanta at the time. So she came to see me while I was in Miami, Michigan. And when I got out, she was there to pick me up. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have had nothing when I got out. And I got out in 2007. We were married in 2008. And We were married for 8 years. My first wife was married for 13 years. My second wife was married for 8 years. And while I was with her, I went back to using. She's one of the best women in the world. I mean, this is an amazing woman. But I was a terrible man still. Terrible. And she used to always tell me, Michael, I'm getting tired. Michael, I'm getting tired. I just wouldn't change. I was still in them streets. Still had 4 or 5 different women. But I wasn't robbing banks yet, though.
See, y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? He said, yeah. He robbed all these banks, got caught, did time, get out, and start this process all over again.
Got behind on rent. No, I'm also using undercover, trying to keep them up. And she finds out. And she said, well, I'd just rather you be here in the house if you're going to do that. Because I would be gone 2 days. But she loved me and she loved her marriage so much that she was willing to actually accept that.
Wow.
And that's how far some women will go to keep their man and keep their marriage. They'll do things men would never do. Women are amazing. Amazing. The stuff that y'all will put up with us. And she
ride or die. Ride or die.
And she was definitely a ride or die. She was definitely a ride or die. And I mean, she covered me every chance she could. She like my first one. She tried to expose everything I did. But my second, she covered me. That woman covered me, and she could have exposed me for the rascal that I was, because I was a rascal times 10. And she never said nothing about it.
And she was still holding you down through all of this. Held you down through a stint in prison.
She did.
Made sure
she held me down
when you got out.
She had saved her money. She gave me an envelope full of money. She had me a cell phone. When I was at the halfway house, I didn't need. Oh my God, I didn't need for nothing. My phone about to die. There's so much stuff going wrong.
This has been. I started back with a bang. Like every technical difficulty that could happen, and the internet is not so interneting today.
Not interneting.
Okay,
and I have my charger right here.
We've been here for a while, so
I got it. Here we go. All right. So she held me down, really held me down. If it wasn't for her, ain't no telling where I would have ended up, and things would have happened. So towards the end of our marriage, we separated. And when we separated, that's when I went back and started doing what I was doing. No, actually, I did it while we were still in the same house, because I received some mutilated money, and I put the money in the closet. The mutilated money I put in the closet. So after we separated, after we got divorced, we having a conversation one day on the phone, and she said, I've been wanting to tell you this all these years, Michael. And I said, what? She said, I knew you robbed the bank when we was together. And I said, how you know I robbed the bank? She said, because I took your money. I said, you took my money. She said, yeah, I found some money in the closet. I said, you. She said, I found the money in the closet. I said, girl, that money was bad. She said, I wonder why I was all tore up, and something of it was burnt and tore up and had ink and stuff on it. It was mutilated. They call it mutilated money. And so I put all that in the car. I was wondering. She said, I spent all that. I said, well, you deserved it. So I
So,
knew you.
okay, I'm trying to understand what you're thinking. Like, you've had this previous run,
Mm-hmm.
where they're chasing you. So your picture is everywhere. And then you go back to robbing the banks again. Are you not thinking that, okay, that my picture is on file everywhere? You know, maybe these people at the bank may recognize me. You're not thinking about any of that when you go on this second run.
Well, the only thing yeah, I thought about that completely. So I said, no, I can't be the Dapper Dan this time. I just got to be Dan. And so I went out in t-shirts and, tank tops and, I went out like that. Yeah. And so, I mean, I got to go out. I feel I got to go out, but I can't go out like that anymore. I mean, of course they're going to. But, so yes, that's why when you saw that picture, I had on a tank top and the fedora and the camel coats and all that. Was at home in the closet. Right?
Wow. So you give up the Dapper Dan image and you're just Dan. Now you're robbing banks. Do you go back to the same area, or do you go to a whole new area so that you won't be recognized?
Well, I had no area. I was from LaGrange to, far south suburbs and all points in between. Downtown, um, Oak Lawn, Evergreen. I was everywhere. I had no area.
And how long does this second run of robberies last?
New York minute.
A new.
Yeah, it was over before it started. Really. Yeah.
And of course, you got caught a second time.
Mm-hmm. And this is where the man you see now was I get arrested the second time. Everybody I know, he's done. He's done. We'll never see Michael again. Never see Michael again. Michael done. He's done. And for a hot second, I felt like I was done too.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord told me, you're not going to jail. And I used to leave the Bible studies my first time, but he said, I don't want you to do none of that. And so I wouldn't even go back there. I'll sit in my cell, and one of the guys called himself Bishop somebody. He was up in there for doing something with his church, so they had him arrested. Well, another fake brother, and so he was back there leading. I wouldn't go back there. I wouldn't be near that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I gotta get myself together. I got all this church stuff and people calling my name and I got to forget all that stuff. That's part of why you so damn sick now. Okay? All the people calling your name, because from seventh grade, I walk in the church. I mean, I was the most popular kid amongst my age group. I had the prettiest girl in the church. Everybody knew who I was, and all that attention and stuff at an early age has shaped me. And so you walk in, if you like that, if they give you that type of attention on your job, you're the man. They give you that type of attention in church, you're the man. They give that type of attention in school, you tend to kind of fall into that, and that stuff will do something to your ego. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, this ego, this image, and all that is fake anyway. It's fake. Michael, don't worry about that stuff no more. And I began to get stripped all the way down. Mm-hmm. And I would be laying in my bunk sometimes, just me and the Lord. She ain't going to jail. And I'm here to tell a few people that. I ain't going to jail. Man, get out of here. Yo, if anybody going to jail, you going to jail. Anybody. And so I ain't going to jail. So we'll go to court. I got locked up in 2014. And we didn't go to court to get sentenced until 2015. It was like 14 months later. I sat at MCC waiting to go to court.
Mm-hmm.
Go to court. I'm facing, back then, the judges had authority to go above or below the sentencing guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first time they didn't have that discretion. They had whatever your sentence was, they had to stay within those guidelines. So my judge at the time, when I stood before her, she said, "Let me go in my chambers and look over some things, and I'll come back with my decision." And she got up, but she left out. So we sat down and waited. About 15, 20 minutes later, she came back out. And she did something I'd never seen done before in a courtroom. You know how you're supposed to stand up when she come out? She said, "No, listen, you stay seated. Stay seated. I'm fine." Because, you stand up when you get sentenced.
Uh-huh.
She said, "No, you stay seated." So me and my attorney, who was also a federal defender, she got to reading.
Okay, we were stuck for a second. You said your attorney.
Yeah, he was a federal defender. I didn't have no paid attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I had nobody from the church write no letters, no pastor stood up, none of that. All the folks were running the other way. And so it was me and my attorney sitting there, and my brother-in-law. That was the only one in court. That's it. And so she got to talking about the day I was born, Jennesis. I'm like, how does someone get this information? And she talked about how I was abandoned. She laid it out to the point I sit at that table, tears running down my eyes.
And where did she get all this information from?
I had no idea. My attorney did an excellent job because she later thanked him for the thorough job that he did. Because, in federal prison, they get you in and out. But she took time to thank him for the taking the time to for the thorough job that he did. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to my life being told to me. They even interviewed some of my grammar school teachers. And so there were statements in there about me. I'm sitting there crying. Just control crying. But I'm crying. I couldn't even see. I looked down at the I didn't even hear the sentence. I didn't even hear it. I looked down at the table. My attorney had slid a piece of paper across to me. And it said, 18 months, time served.
Wow.
Going home.
"18 months, you're going home."
Listen, I think my guidelines was 23 to 32 years, something like that. In other words, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous time. It was ridiculous. That woman sentenced me to 18 months. Time served, knowing that I already done 16 months. I already done my time. So I gotta come in there and let me go. Listen, I walked out. I walked out. I walked out of prison. And I should still be gone. I should still be gone to this day. You can't tell me You cannot tell me how God can take a wreck, absolute, absolute wreck. People will leave you. They will give up on you. But you better put your trust in God. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. People in the Bible, we preach about them. We preach about, oh, David was this, David. And this person was a total disaster. But when you meet a modern day David, you want to, listen, I'm supposed to still be gone. I'm supposed to still be gone. But God said no. He said no. He said no. I left out of prison homeless. I had nowhere to go. They let me go so fast, I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere to go. I had to go to the probation office. And they had to find me somewhere to go. I ended up in a recovery home, the Phoenix house in Phoenix, out there by Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Because the halfway house didn't even have a place for me. Didn't have no room. So when you get out of the feds, you go to the halfway house for 6 months. They didn't have no room. I had to go to the Phoenix house. And I stayed out there from November until almost February. And they called and said, we got a bed for you. So I stayed in halfway house 6 months. And I've been swinging ever since. God has
What do
given
you
me a
mean when you
platform
say
on
you've been
Facebook.
swinging ever since? For
I've been
those that
swinging
don't.
ever since. Yeah, God has given me a platform on Facebook to reach people. He's given me a message to help put broken people's lives back together, one piece at a time, through the Word of God, through laughter, and through compassion. And that's all I do every day. That's all I do. If it don't fall in those categories, I don't fool with it. We're
Okay.
getting ready to open. I'm getting ready to start my very first church, the Vision. So I'll be pastoring soon. God is amazing. I'm going all over the country talking and telling my story. Every chance I get, I'm telling people about how far I fell. Because I fell so far. I fell so far. But God picked me up. And I didn't do no 360-degree turn.
Mm-hmm.
Because 360-degree turn, you right back where you started. I did a 180. I'm turning a whole nother direction. And so I don't care about reputation. I don't care about what people say. I don't care. I expose myself. Yes.
Yes.
I preached and I smoked crack. Yes. I preached. I was married. And I had 5, 6 different women in the church. Yes. And I know Negroes to this day. Still living like that. But too worried about an image.
Mm-hmm.
Too worried about an image. Too worried about an image to really get free. Really get free. Really get free. And so they're going to stay stuck. They're going to stay stuck.
Ooh.
They're going to stay stuck.
Okay.
And I'm free. And I
We
ain't
went
never
out for
going. Can you hear me now?
Here we go. Here we go. Just when I'm saying it. I was before the internet just tried to take me out of here. I want to commend you for being brave enough and courageous enough to come on my platform and share your story and be so transparent about it. That's a wild ride.
Real wild. Real wild. A lot of people don't believe all that happened. It's more, more that really happened. But it's a lot of people can't believe all that happened to one man, especially to me, especially those that I went to high school with and grammar school as well, because that's just not who they saw. you know,
They saw
that's
a different guy.
totally
Now,
different.
I have a few questions about that, but before I get to that,
Mhm.
are you clean today?
Yes. Yeah.
And how long have you been clean today?
You know, I tried the NA and the AA philosophy, which and they big on numbers, they big on track, you know, your clean day this day. I couldn't, I didn't feel accepted in those organizations,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so I found my my niche with the VA among the veterans and the ATP program, and that's what keeps me clean.
For
Going
those
to the
who
groups
don't know
there
what the acronym stands for,
after treatment program. And
after
so
treatment program.
after inpatient treatment, 28 days, 30 days, then you go to what is called ATP. And I've been in ATP since at least 15 years now, if not longer. But the majority of the time I was there using. But now I'm listening, I'm participating, and being amongst my veteran brothers and sisters, that helped. That has kept me clean. Not NA, and I'm not saying that NA and A, I'm not saying it, you know, but there's no monopoly on recovery. There's no right or wrong way to recover. So whatever way you choose, whatever's working for you, use that. NA didn't work for me, but I didn't give up because NA didn't work for me. I found um, um, a path through the veteran program, and that's what I participate in on a weekly basis. That's what I participate. I have really got myself rooted in that, and that keeps me going. And doing what I do daily with Facebook and just my general life, that keeps me rooted. And so my clean date, I have no. All I know is I haven't used. I woke up one day and I didn't use. I woke up the next day, I didn't use. Um, but I know I haven't used at least since 2015 when I came home.
Okay.
But prior to
And
that, I would leaving treatment. I would get out. I left treatment one time when I was in Haymarket. I left treatment, went down in the project, got high, and got stuck down there. And they let me come back. They let me come back.
mm-hmm.
They let me come back. I stuck out the door, went down in the project, got high, and got stuck down there. So treatment, and I've been in treatment I think 13 times. 13 times, and each time I came out and got high. Each
Wow.
time.
Until now. So what's
Mhm.
different
This last stint with being in prison, um, I was this close to dying in prison. Had I received the time that I was the citizen guidelines,
that you should have gotten? Mm-hmm.
yes, because I was almost 50, turning 50.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the year I got out, I was 49. That year I was turning 50. And so had I got 20 something years or whatever, I've been 70 something years old coming out of prison. And I don't think I probably would have died in prison. And so those things I thought about, and the fact that for the first time, people always tell me, Jennesis, that Michael, you favored by God. I didn't really understand. I didn't really see that. I didn't, but I felt it when they popped that gate, and that gate opened up downtown at the MCC, and I walked out. I felt the favor of God on me. I felt the favor of God, and if the favor of God is on you, don't misuse that.
Okay.
Don't misuse that. And I fear, I'm terrified of misusing the favor of God. I ain't been terrified before. I'm terrified now.
Terrified now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was where your family and your children during all of this? Do you still have a relationship with your children? Were you able to get or rebuild a relationship with your children after you have been away and then you came out and then went back. Now that you
Yeah.
got this new
No doubt. Those relationships were strained. My middle boy, he was graduating high school. We had a pretty good relationship. But of course, a teenager, his dad is plastered all over TV. He was embarrassed.
Mhm.
He was crushed. He was hurt. And he is still having problems with that. I've reached out to him several times, and they just keep saying, he's gonna have to work his way through it. I'm here for him because I understand. I really let my children down. I let them down. My oldest son, we're in and out. My daughter, probably have the strongest relationship with her out of all the four. But there is a strain there from time to time, and I have to understand that.
We had technical.
Pardon me?
Oh my.
Yeah, you breaking up again.
Oh, I don't know what's happening at this point. I think we're back on track. I see a little message here. The relationship back on track. You're here for your son.
Yeah, and like I said, I have to understand that. That's the records of my past. Those are my children. And however they feel, I have to accept that I caused that. I really did. I have to accept whether they handling it like I want them to handle it or not. I have to accept the fact that I caused that.
Mm-hmm.
And give them their pace and their time to work through it.
Do you regret it? If you had an opportunity to do it all over again, would you still make the same choices?
I asked my mama that before one time when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at me. I said, "Mama, if you could do it all over again, would you change anything?" My mama looked at me and said, "Absolutely not."
But
she was a hard lover. But no, it's a lot, Jennesis. It's a lot. My mama said, "Absolutely not."
I tell you, like, y'all been here with this mess. So I was saying the reality of this is you were having a good time. So you thought during this time, you're living a lavish lifestyle, doing all the things you wanted. At that point, you had money at your disposal. So although it was not the right thing to do, you were enjoying it in that moment.
Yes and no. I mean, always
Be honest about a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know something is wrong.
Every day, I don't care how happy I looked and how much fun it looked like I was having.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, I knew, Michael, one day you're gonna get caught.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you stop right now, you're gonna get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I wasn't fooled about it. I wasn't fooled about it. I knew one day I was gonna get caught. This train gonna wreck one day. It's gonna wreck. I just didn't know when. I didn't know how. So you might well enjoy it. You might well enjoy it, man, because this gonna end.
Okay.
And it might end bad, but every day I knew that. And so it might appear on the outside that I was enjoying myself and all that, But when you fake, you gotta fake it. When you phony, you gotta be phony. When you play into the crowd and play into the image, you gotta keep that up. And so I couldn't stop being. And so I played into all of that. but
Now
every day.
you said that was the norm. That's what you
It was
and
the
the
norm. It was the
church
norm.
folks were doing.
I
Where
didn't
were
know. I didn't know how to do anything else. I didn't know
where
how to
were
do anything else.
folks when you were in prison? Were they supporting you while you were in prison?
What? Well, who now?
The church folks that you were associating with, you said that a lot of them were living double lives as well. When
Mhm.
you were incarcerated, did you
Like I said,
ever
um,
tie?
like I said, when I went away, I was, well, like I said, I was a social minister in Salem, and I gave, even though I was struggling when I was in Salem, using it and everything, I still tried to give Salem everything I had.
This
I
is this
served.
has been hard. I gotta stop you because this has been the hardest stream as far as the internet connection. But
Yeah,
you were starting to answer the question I asked about the relationship with the church members who
right,
you're
right,
friends with.
right. And so when I got locked up, um, my pastor and the church in general ran the other way. I never heard from him until 3 years after I was gone. A few months after I got locked up, R. Kelly got locked up for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And they flocked to R. Kelly and supported him like he was a member of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Your church.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
To the point where I think they escorted him to court and left court and brought him to Salem. And at the time, Salem was conducting their kindergarten graduation because my son was in kindergarten at the time. He was in that kind of graduation. And they
Yeah.
walked in while they were singing I Believe I Can Fly. And R. Kelly started singing a song with them. And they didn't know he was coming. But my pastor was, mentoring him and counseling him at the time. I'm sitting right down at 15 minutes from the church. Ain't nobody said nothing to me. Ain't nobody came to see me. Nobody wrote no letter, nothing. I wrote to church one time and asked them to send me a Bible. Could I get a Bible? Because they were putting Bibles in the hands of inmates, all the inmates in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I didn't ask to anybody that comes, nothing. Like I said, I got requests to do interviews from some of the editors at Sun Times and people who fascinated with my story. And me and my attorney turned them all down because I knew if I start talking to people, I'm going to have to reveal that I was a preacher and what church I went to, and I didn't want to bring that on the church. I didn't want to bring that on my pastor. And so I didn't say nothing about me being a preacher or me being a member of Salem or none of that. And nobody reached out to me. Those that did, they were my friends. They didn't come as a deacon of the church, or they didn't come as a representative of Salem. They came because I had dual relationships with people. I had relationships with people outside of the church who happened to also go to that church. They came as my friend, and they let me know that. When my mom died, they didn't come to the funeral. They didn't send a resolution. Nobody from Salem represented the church. And so when R. Kelly got locked up, they flocked to him and they support that boy all through what he went through. When Mel Reynolds came home from prison the first time, I was working at the school at the time before all this happened. We shut the school down. Mel Reynolds wasn't a member of our church. Mel Reynolds was the congressman. Remember Mel Reynolds?
Yes.
He was the congressman. We shut the school down and made the sign for all the kids, put the kids on school buses, and went to the airport to greet to greet Mel Reynolds coming off that plane. Welcome home, Mel Reynolds. Welcome home, But here is your own preacher. Your own preacher.
Is
Your
happening.
own member of your church. They didn't. But I did finally talk to him. At the end of the conversation, he said, Mike, is there anything you need? I said, Doc, man, everything in here costs. I'm on the phone with him now. I said, everything costs. So whatever you can do. He said, man, we got you. We're going to start sending money. Jennesis, about 13 phone calls, and 3 months later, I received $100 from the church. And I ain't got a dime from them since. When I got out, You would think they would say, "Hey, let's have a sit down. Let's see what we can do to help to prevent this from happening again. Because
Mm.
you failed us and we failed you." Not one person has reached out to me to this day and said, "Hey, man, you need some soap, you need some anything." I came home with nothing. And like I said, I asked the church for a Bible, wrote them and asked them for a Bible. I'm still waiting on that Bible. I couldn't even get a Bible from the church.
Bible.
I couldn't even get a Bible. Still couldn't get, I still ain't got that Bible.
Were you angry about
Nobody
that?
Nobody has said anything to me. And I've been back there. I've been to the church several times. When I first got out, I went and walked up to him. And the security guard, he hugged me, or me and this guy, his head guy. We had a pretty good relationship. He was so happy to see me. I hugged, "Hey, Gerald, man." He said, "Man," he said, "Do you know you here?" I said, "No, you don't know I'm here." He tapped her on the shoulder. He turned around. He looked like he saw a ghost. He's like, "Right, man." He hugged me. Man, so glad to see you. Glad to see you too, Doc. And I said 2 words to that man. I said, "If he ain't reached out to me, I ain't reached out to him."
Wow. Are you angry about that, or were you angry
I
about that?
was. I wasn't angry. I was hurt.
Okay.
I was hurt. Because that's the first time I've really been hurt by church. Like I said, I've been a star in the church. I've been an accepted one in the church. The church ain't never did me like that. And so when the church did me like that, I saw it done. Don't get me wrong. I saw it done to people, but I ain't never been on that side. And so when it was my turn, and because the only pastor that wrote me, only pastor I know in the city, the only pastor that wrote me was Marvin Wiley, Rocker Ages out in Maywood. That was the only one. That was the only one. I ain't nobody.
Did that change your view on the church? Did you think, okay, after this church hurt, I'm done with church and church?
No, never. Because I've been in it all my life, so I always seen it. Always seen it. It just never happened to me. I always seen it. I knew it was there. I always seen it, and I always fought for those guys. I would fight. I would let them know, "Hey, man, y'all wrong. We got." But people say, like, if you say something against the pastor, you say something. No, where the Bible say wrong is wrong. I don't care who do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we make too many decisions in a day to get them all right. And we can't get them all right. We make too many. And so sometimes the pastor's gonna be wrong. And so wrong is wrong. And I don't have a problem with you being wrong. What I have a problem with is you not correcting your wrong. That's what I have a problem with. Don't just go on off like you so big now. You so you so far beyond being corrected.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody is beyond being corrected. You don't ever want to get that big that you can't be corrected. And to have your own preacher, your own member. And so I cry out now, so that not because I'm bitter, I'm hurt, because I'm not anymore, but I want it to be people to be so aware that it don't happen again. That it doesn't become your culture and your character is to mistreat people like this. I know people who need a $100 light bill paid and gotta go through hoops and loops to get a $100 light bill paid. But then you can go on TV and present somebody with $50,000, to do. But this mother with 3 children sitting in the dark, she got to go through 4 or 5 different people to get approved for $100 get a light bill. But this kind of stuff going on in the church now,
Mm-hmm.
behind closed doors. I mean, behind the scenes. And I'm privileged of it all. I've seen it all. I've been in this thing all my life. All my life, I've seen it all. And so that would never, people's behavior in the church would never, one, cause me to walk away from God or cause me to give up on the church. Now, I might change churches. I might change church. But I'm never going to give up on the church because of people. So we're a mess. We're a mess.
We are.
We're a mess. And starting with my mama. You know, my mama was a hell in the church. I was ready hell in the church. So I had a front row seat. You know, I had a front row seat. Front row seat. So I saw that as a child. Pardon me?
You were mentioning earlier about classmates, and they knew you were going to be gone, but God spared you and gave you another chance to get it right.
Yeah.
Do you go back to, everybody does all class reunions?
Yeah. I've been to even before all this happened. I never did a whole lot with my class. I'm more in touch with my grammar school classmates than my high school. I've been to one event since high school, and I went to one of the all class reunions, all class picnics rather. I'm a Cavalier. I'm CBS Cavalier.
Okay.
Great school in city. Great school in city.
Cool.
Huh? What'd you say?
Do they treat you different now that they know, or now that your story has been so public?
Yes, yeah, and they, and the fact that I'm so transparent about what goes on, and I think people appreciate that. People get sick and tired of the fluff all the time, and presenting yourself like you have no struggles. You're above conflict. You're above struggling. And about all you're going to hear a lot of times, not from all, because you got some that they're more transparent than me.
Oh, this has been the hardest stream ever.
Oh my God.
You froze.
I told you I'm the jinx. Didn't I tell you that?
Soon, because the internet is just not cooperating with us tonight.
I told you, I'm the jinx.
That's okay.
And so a lot of times, as far as the minister will go, is talk about their mental health. You know, but you ain't talking about the women you messing. You ain't talking about how you
we didn't hear any. We didn't hear.
No, they don't want to hear this part. They don't want to hear this part. But I'm gonna get it out.
Let me
know when you're back up.
In the chat. Okay, we're here. It's just doing its own thing at this point. But
I said, no, they don't want to hear this part.
We had in the chat, Eugene Steele said he commended you for sharing your story. This darn internet. Right. So
I think you need to put some quarters in that thing, Jennesis.
I swear, like we pay all this money for all these.
You need some quarters. You need to go get some quarters and put it there.
I'm hoping that
that's real bad now.
Technology working like the Jetsons and the cartoons do. We push a button and it does what it does. But in the meantime, we got a struggle stream if that's what it means. So we had a question though from one of the people in the chat, Mr. Eugene Steele. I missed Eugene so much while I was off of this channel. He said, Mr. Newsom, if you are speaking to our youth,
you break it up. I can hear the question.
Internet say you think that's what the internet.
I can't hear the question.
Are we back? Yeah.
I hear you now. I got you now.
So for the third time, what would you tell the youth if you had to give them some advice?
If I try to give them what now?
If you had to give some advice to the youth, what would you tell them?
You know, I get asked this question a lot, and my answer is always different, actually, because it's always evolving. Because
Okay.
our youth nowadays, they seem so mad, and very few of them smile, especially teenagers. You look at them, and they look, you know, they just got this
Not gonna
blank
be
face, and they very no smile, and they just look angry and unsatisfied all the time. My advice to youth nowadays would be learn very early what satisfies you and put everything behind it. Don't get boxed in to this running theory that go to grammar school, go to high school, go to college, then live your life. College is not for everybody, young folks. And just because you don't go to college don't mean you fail. There's a lot of different options now that you can make a wonderful life. And you don't have to always follow this blueprint, this outdated blueprint. Secondly, especially, this message would go a lot of times was primarily for men, for the young boys.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's for the young girls as well, because young girls are being locked up at such a quick rate, just like the boys.
Right.
I always tell our young boys, our young men and women, you do not have to go to prison to change your life. You do not have to go to prison. Yes, I did, unfortunately, but you don't all have to go to prison to change your life. You can do that without going to prison. So find something that's satisfying. Whatever you have a passion in. A lot of times our passion keeps us on the right path. When you go half your life trying to figure out what you want to do in life, you just flop it all over the place. But if you discover your passion at an early age and you start putting everything behind that, you kind of stay more focused than those who go through half their life still trying to figure out what they're here to do. So discover your passion at a very early age and put everything behind that, because your passion will keep you on the right path most times.
Okay. And you live and put
I'm
your
in Chicago.
passion first now. Is that
What'd
what
you say?
say? I said you live and put your passion first now. Is
Yes,
that
like I said.
stay on
Yeah.
the right path?
Yeah, like I said, my only call in life right now is to help broken people put their lives back together one piece at a time through the word of God, through laughter, and through compassion. And Jennesis, that's all I do. That's all I do now. That's all I do. I don't try to get into politics. I don't try to get into this and that. That's all I do. I do that on Facebook all day. I do that in my private life. Everywhere I go, that's what I do. I look for broken people. So you walking around like you ain't got no problems, I can't connect to you. I can't connect with you. The Lord told me when he told me to open this church. He said, I want you to go out and I want you to get the prostitutes. I want you to get the addicts. I want you to get the deadbeat daddies. I want you to get the deadbeat mothers. I want you to get the homosexuals. I want you to get the child abusers. I want you to get all the people that's rejected by the traditional church. I want you to get those people. That's who I want you to talk to.
People that society deems undesirable.
That's it, absolutely. Go out in the highways and hedges and compel men and women to come to Christ. He said to me, because it's only certain type of people that's in the highways and hedges. Those people are in the highways of heaven. The church wants folks ain't got no problems. You have problems, but not them kind of problems.
The seriously
You're not
broken. You know, they say
exactly.
that the church is a hospital and everybody comes there when they're sick.
But you got to be well now. You got to be well now. You got to be well. You got to be well. You got to be well. And so I want you to go out and get the broken and help them put their lives back together one piece at a time. And so that's what I do. I do that. I go after people that nobody else wants. And yes, it gets dangerous sometimes. But if we only seek to do what's safe and comfortable, we'll do very little for the Lord. Very little.
Okay.
Very little. Very little.
We have another question from Vanessa Dallas.
Who is that?
Who just happens to be my auntie. Hey auntie. She
Who
said,
is that? I know her.
with all that has happened to you, Mike, when you start your church, will you extend yourself to the fallen men and women, no matter what their issue is?
I think she wrote that letter. I think she wrote that before I said what I said.
That you're going after the undesirables, all the people that would traditionally be rejected by the church.
And on a personal note, I have a personal issue with pedophiles. You know, I have a personal issue with pedophiles. But I have to show compassion. I have to go after them too. Bible says that while we were yet sinners, he died for us. That means while we was doing, in the middle of doing what we was doing, Christ died for us. Jennesis, if he would have waited for us to get ourselves together, he'd still be waiting.
None of us would be there.
He'd still be waiting. And so he died for the pedophile. He died for the homosexual. He died for the bank robber. He died for the drug addict. He died for the deadbeat fathers. He died for the men beating on their wives every day. He died for all of it. And so we don't want them kind of people though. We don't want them kind of people in our church. We don't want them. They there though. They there.
They are. They are.
We had chairman of our deacon board.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
What you said, I could identify with, and that was one of the things that kept me. I mean, I'm a member of, well, it's a non-denominational, multicultural church. However, when I came to it, I looked at it as a Black church because it was different than what I knew. The traditional church I always, that we attend, I always call the Black church. And that was one of the things that was the most off-putting for me. I wouldn't even visit because I thought all of these people are fake and phony, and you got to be clean in order to go there.
Come on, man.
And I knew a lot of people who went to those type of churches who weren't clean.
Right.
And I used to think, okay, these folks, just like you said you were doing, are living double lives because they're unclean, but they're judging the people who look like them, who do some of the same things they do.
Yeah.
And those same people who were dirty made other people feel like they were too dirty to come to church. And I wanted no parts of that. So that was one of the things that drew me to you and your story. Because for those that don't know, he and I are Facebook friends, and it's that small world thing. He happens to know my auntie and some other mutual friends, and he has been sharing snippets of his story over the years. And I never knew who he was. I never knew his background, any of that, until he started sharing. And for some reason, I'm going to say it was a divine connection. I would always see his statuses when he would be sharing parts of those stories. And I was, one random day, like, okay, I got to reach out to him because I gotta hear the rest of the story. We on social media and we are voyeurs and will not admit it. And I was like, I want to be nosy. I need to know because he is not giving the whole part. And I noticed that your transparency, because most people won't get on there and say or share some of the things that I've
There's
seen.
some stuff, things, and situations. What are stuff, things, and
Yeah.
situations? Yeah, they ain't gonna put no face on it though.
I had all these technical difficulties, and y'all know I am not the techie. I am the first to admit, but I had the surveillance photo that I was intending to share, and then some other photos, of the Dapper Dan versus just Dan. And he shared those publicly. And I was like, okay, this man is somebody, and he has a story that has to be shared with everybody that will be open to hearing it, because there's definitely a message in it. And I think that you can help somebody, whether it's somebody who's thinking about making a poor choice for whatever reason, whether it's just that they're behind on rent or they're struggling with some sort of addiction. Because when people are desperate, they do desperate things. And if they hear your story and see the outcome, the negative, and then the possibilities, once you make better decisions or better choices, that can be a blessing to somebody. And that's always my goal here over at the Book of Jennesis. I am not a preacher, teacher, pastor. I am not, an expert in anything. My only goal since the beginning has been to make sure that anybody that tunes in to any stream, even if it's only one person, that they leave with some sort of inspiration, some sort of message, some sort of inspiration, or even a little bit of hope. If one person is blessed by any stream that I am a part of, then it's a success for me. I don't need 10,000 followers. I don't need 10,000 people tuned in anytime that I go live, or even if I do something pre-recorded. I just need to reach that one that needs to hear the message. And I hope that you sharing your story with us today reaches at least that one person who needs to hear that message. And I appreciate you being here. I'm so glad you tuned in. The people who are listening in the chat for participating. And we're gonna come back. We're gonna figure out another way to get Dapper Dan, or formerly the man known as Dapper Dan, now preacher Michael Newson. Where I'm hoping to have you back on the show at a later date for something, a success story, or somebody else that you helped, them sharing their story or something. Maybe you might lead me to the next, person who is in recovery and turning their life around. I don't know. I'm open to the possibilities, but I think that's a perfect place to end it. If you
Going back out.
see, here we go. Here we go. I know. Let's go now, because this is just doing too much. So I'm going to end it right there, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. For those who did not tune in today and, might catch this on the replay, y'all be sure to like, share, leave a comment, tell me what you thought about the show. And yeah, that's it. There we go. Come on. It's